Hey, good afternoon, automotive aftermarket professionals. It's CarmCast and it's Carm Capriotto from the Remarkable Results Radio studio. We're broadcasting live. Got a great event here today. And let me see. We can look in the back at John Forro and we can see the AVI logo. He's at the AVI studios. Thanks so much to AVI for bringing this together. Got a great panel. We're going to talk about a really hot and important topic. Donny Seyfer is with us from NASTF, the National Automotive Services Task Force, the executive officer. Hi, Donny.
Hi, Carm. Good to see you.
Same here, my friend. NASTF connects independence with the OEM. NASTF's your connection to the automakers. Good to have you here. John Forro, AVI Master Technician. Hello, John.
Hello, Carm.
Good to see you, man. Jeffery Brown, Automotive Sales Manager at ILCO. Hi, Jeff.
How are you, Carm?
I'm wonderful, man. Thanks for being here. I know you got a lot to bring us. And Ryan McGee, Automotive Product Specialist at ILCO.
Hey, how's it going, Carm?
Good, man. Hey, look at, we're here to talk about keys programming. As you can see, the URL on top of the screen. Don't leave us now and try that unless you have multiple screens. But keyprogramming123.com is going to be a very important part of your future. So we're here to talk about best practices for securing customer data when it comes to keys, benefits for repair shops offering key duplication services. We're going to discuss the key duplication and programming equipment, why security exists, and why we need your help. So, Donny, why is it so important to spend time in this webinar and listen to this important story and get involved?
Well, Carm, that's the fantastic $60,000 question, right? Why do we care? There are a number of methods out there that you can get around all of the accepted procedures. And the problem that creates is that the core idea behind a key and a lock is to keep the things that are valuable to you belonging to you. And so when we get into this whole high-tech world of, transponders that make the doors unlock, and I mean, even cell phones that are making doors unlock, the customer, the vehicle owner needs to have the ability to say, yeah, Carm, I want you to fix my car, or John, I want you to have access to that information for me, as opposed to it just being wild, wild west, which it was for a while. So NASTF back in 2006 worked with multiple associations to create a program called the Secure Data Release Model. The Secure Data Release Model makes it so that locksmiths and technicians who need access to security information can get that information from the automaker with the customer's authorization, and then they can do the repairs necessary. And in this environment today, it's all about the key, but also when you've got a powertrain control module or something you replace, you may need an immobilizer code.
So, Donny, let me stop you for a minute. SDRM, Secure Data Release Model, that was specifically designed so that the OEs allowed the independence inside their world.
Absolutely. And to information that everybody agrees belongs to the vehicle owner.
Right.
And so that information needs to be directed by the vehicle owner. The automakers agree on that. The aftermarket agrees on that. But there are folks out there who try to break that and work outside of it. And cars get stolen when that happens.
We talked earlier, the whole team got together so that we knew that we could give you one heck of a great little webinar today. I found out some fascinating things, Donny, about what's going on with cyber crime and cars being stolen, which is one of the big reasons we're here talking.
Yeah, it's a big thing. Car theft has gone up 120% since the coronavirus thing started. Nobody's got an exact reason why, but my belief is the main reason is because cars are sitting and are more accessible because they're not being driven as much. And so that just sort of gives those folks an opportunity to do some things. And a lot of people, you've seen them, people out on the highway driving 100 miles an hour because there's no one on the road. The rules seem to be relaxed right now. And so we've had to be a lot more careful across the entire automotive industry with cyber related issues. And so that's why, I'm really happy to have had an opportunity to meet and work with the ILCO guys, because they take this stuff seriously and still make it so that professionals can do their job.
Hey, Jeff, let's bring you in here and find out. Of course, ILCO's here, key people. Am I right? And interesting. We promoted this show, and I got some feedback from the industry. Hey, Carm, I'm doing keys independent, and I'm making a lot of money, and the customers coming to me. They don't have to go anywhere else for it.
Well, it's certainly a convenience for their customers. If you're an automotive shop and you have customers coming in that actually need keys and really don't feel like the inconvenience of having to go somewhere else, they want to have it done right there. It's a tremendous opportunity for the automotive shop to serve those customers right there and right now. And so, in addition, it's also a great revenue stream for the automotive shops, and it gives them a brand new revenue stream, and also teaches them a whole lot about security of the car as well. Anytime we work with an automotive shop, we always try to refer them back to NASTF when they do need codes, and we encourage them to work in that manner in a professional way.
Which is the reason for SDRM, right, Donny?
That's the idea. Make it so that it can be done professionally, securely, and so that these guys are not actually opening themselves up to liabilities and theft opportunities with a car that they used a code broker.
Got it. A code broker. That's an interesting comment. Does that sound a little shady to me?
It's really shady. It's one of the primary sources of theft issues right now. And quite frankly, most code brokers may have people operating here in the United States, but they're not in the United States.
I see. So if I was going to be John, chime in on this, John, having, independent shop owner, master trainer for AVI, your perspective on the independent getting into this business.
So at my personal shop, for years before all of this became an issue, you would be able to perform certain key programming codes, like if you changed a lock cylinder or something, maybe there's a 30-minute procedure or whatever the case happens to be. And where this is all heading, and Donny can chime in after this comment here, is with the technology that keeps getting introduced into our industry. I mean, we're talking, self-driving cars and everything else, and we need some way to go ahead and secure the data, because if you think about it, Donny brought up a good point of using a cell phone to unlock the car, but that technology of using a cell phone to summon your car to come pick you up at the door or whatever is all available. So this is something that could just really spiral out of control if we don't have some way to securely lock stuff down. And as a shop owner, I mean, because if it's a self-driving car, they could just basically, if they broke the code, they could actually just drive the car away and not even be on site when this happens. And as a shop owner, I agree with the fact of if you can keep your customers at your one location. So instead of a typical shop owner, if they need a key cut or if they need something programmed, they might, tell the person to go to a dealership, or maybe they're using a independent remote, diagnostician that some of them will actually do this stuff as well. But if you can keep your customer in one location, you don't ever run the risk of them saying, well, XYZ auto repair over here can't do this. I wonder what else they can't do. And maybe they should look for a new venue to service their cars.
Or someone else that may be offering that at an automotive shop.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole new lock on cars that has got the automotive industry really excited, and that is that they've been adding gateways to the diagnostic link for a number of years. And the gateways have been perceived by a lot in the repair side of the industry as a way to keep technicians out. And that is not at all the intention. The intention is to keep those dumb little things that consumers plug into their diagnostic links, which oftentimes are Bluetooth connected back to their phone, which means let's just make the car right out on the internet. It's to keep those things out, but it's also because a lot of the capabilities that John's talking about, once you open up the bus of the car, and the bus being the network for the folks that aren't involved in that part of it, once you open up that network, there's all kinds of things you can see. And so the gateway is intended to sort of control that access. And not only are we securing the car, but we're also now in a stage where we need to be able to say who's servicing it, who's working on it. And that's where SDRM comes in. We credential the individual working on the car, not the shop, because people can change at the shop. So that's why it's important to have that.
Donny, let me go a little deeper into SDRM. If I become accredited with an SDRM, and again, I may be a little off base here, and I want you to explain: does it last for a year, 6 months? Do I pay to get in? How do I get credentialed?
Yes, so NASTF is the only place that you can get credentialed. We've got an extremely sophisticated background check that's all done with open source. We don't need your credit card information and all that. We can find everything we need to know about bad guys and good guys. And so the credential is for 2 years. It's $400 for 2 years. What you're paying for is all of the service that we do in the background to make sure that this stays secure, that the automakers have connections. We've got a very sophisticated platform that serves up all the information back to the automaker to say, Carm is a good guy, he's credentialed, and he should be allowed to access this information. And we can do that in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can do that, and there's no people involved now. The system's got AI, and it can actually track weird things that are happening. So we're happy to say we don't have any thefts at all coming out of SDRM members.
So the government agencies that worry about this international trafficking of stolen cars got to be happy with you guys.
We work with them directly. In fact, our registry manager was just involved in a case where he was actually doing the interviewing because he came from the Department of Homeland Security before we were fortunate to snap him up. Wow,
cool. How does that work? Wow, you can tell me that story offline.
Yeah.
I got on the site and I got this application new renewal checklist. It's pretty intensive. Liability insurance, driver license, business card, locksmith license. You need sub-accounts, proof of employment. It's all there. I mean, you really are doing some pretty heavy checking.
It's a good enough background check that we've actually had the federal government come to us for information on how to do it. And we actually, our folks that do all of this for us, share offices with Homeland Security, CIA, NSA, all those 3 letters, as well as banks. And it's an open source environment where they actually eavesdrop on each other, because a lot of times somebody will say, hey, you guys have got this member and we're wondering if they might know what's going on with this crime thing over here. And it's amazing what we've been able to do to tighten this environment up.
Okay. Now, if you go to keyprogramming123.com, you see it on the screen. You'll see some videos from Donny. Really well done, more in-depth information. But Jeff, I want to ask you, customers need and want keys. I mean, I've never lost one of those expensive keys yet in my life, but I imagine it's a big business.
Yeah, it's quite profitable. And if you're a shop that's considering getting into the business, there's a couple factors you need to consider. One is, are you turning down a lot of cars out there? Or you have a number of people that are coming in and asking you on a weekly basis to do keys for you? The third thing the second thing is do you already have a book of business? In other words, do you have a large fleet, or you have a a municipality or somebody like that you're currently working with that is going to need a lot of keys, and they feel like that you feel like you can serve them a little bit better. And also you got to have, if you're just getting into it, you got to make sure you're able to get the word out. You can't just put the equipment in and think people are going to walk in the door and just magically believe that you are able to do keys. But the money associated or the profits associated with doing keys is quite good. For just an average transponder key, which is a key with no remote functions on it at all, you can make about $60 a key on that. If it's a remote head key, you can make upwards of $100 per key. So for the shop, the profitability on this and the possibility of the better revenue stream is certainly there.
That sounds pretty exciting. I'd like to ask a question. And Donny, I want to, maybe you could make a comment on this. And Ryan, you've been so patient, and I want to get to you here in a minute, but thank you so much for being here. Donny, shops are putting up ADAS calibration centers, maybe one in a marketplace. Now, have you seen shops say, hey, let me go out and invest in the equipment and let me be a key maker for a marketplace?
Yeah, Carm, I think to Jeff's point, there's another side of that you can flip it and talk about the loss of not being able to do this on site. Because almost any technician knows that when you go in and have to do a major reprogramming key event or a security component, customers never can come up with the second key for you. And most of these require 2 keys to do the process because they figure if you got 1 key, you might have stolen the car. But if you've got 2 keys, you probably own the car. And so that process right there, I mean, how many times, John, have you had to replace a computer or reprogram something seriously? And they're like, you need 2 keys. Well, great. Now I'm down waiting to get that key, potentially sending that to a dealer to get that key done when you could facilitate doing it on site. So that wasn't exactly the answer to your question, but the other piece of this is that the ADAS thing most of the time requires an automaker to open up the whole network to reprogramming because of the way they've got them set up. So it's just another great add-on because we don't know where ADAS is going. It could become more and more where it's self-calibrating, but it's still going to need a technician. But it's definitely never going to not be security. It's always going to be security.
This whole thing reminds me, Ryan, of if you're not in the tire business, you got to get in the tire business. Why chase your customer anywhere else? And you got to be in the key business. From your perspective as a product specialist, share your thoughts.
Yeah, with like I said, with programming keys, it's such a liquid business, and so much money can be made with programming keys. I actually had a customer the other day who purchased one of our key programming tools and had lined up a number of vehicles to be able to program. And it was very easy for the customer to get a hang of, programming the vehicles that he had lined up without having really any experience to begin with. So I feel that key programming has really come a long way. And a lot of the tools out there have simplified key programming for the customer. I mean, it pretty much walks them through the process of, step by step what they need to do once they get that vehicle in their hands and start to work on that vehicle.
Is this all computerized? I mean, you just press a button or two, put in a code, and just walk away?
It's not like that. Of course, you have to be there to follow the prompts on the tool itself. And of course, you have to physically have the vehicle there to connect to the vehicle's onboard diagnostic port, OBD2 port to be able to program the particular vehicle. And some vehicles, may have PIN codes where, NASTF would come in and be able to supply those PIN codes. Some vehicles have what's called pre-coding, which is a particular system where part of the information is in the vehicle itself in the computer, and part of the information will have to be pre-coded onto the key that you're trying to program into that vehicle. So, but the tools walk you straight through it. So that's one thing that's really making it easy for anyone who's interested in getting into this business.
It's so interesting. On keyprogramming123.com, great video from ILCO showing how the key is cut. And again, we didn't see a lot of detail there, but it looked fairly simple and fairly easy for that to happen.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tools out there now. We have tools, electronic key cut machines, where you essentially, once you have the key code that you retrieve from NASTF, you can go and simply insert that code into the machine, and then go and cut that key. I mean, it's pretty step by step, and it also has decoding capabilities too. So if a customer does have a working key, but they want to add one or two more keys, they can simply decode that key on the machine and be able to cut the key as well.
Okay, so if I wanted to be in the key cutting business, a $400 application to get my certification from NASTF, and what would the hardware cost, guys? Give me an idea of what it would cost for entry.
Roughly, the key programmer to the shop, roughly about $3,800, and another $3,800 for the key cut machine, the electronic key cut machine. Now, however, if you don't want an electronic key cutting machine and you want just to program and duplicate, then you can get a couple of duplicators that will roughly run you around $1,500, and then you can duplicate the keys, and then you can go ahead and program the keys with a programmer. So all in all, with the consumables and everything, you're looking at about $7,600. You know, by the time you get a gaggle of assortment of consumables and so forth.
Well, I guess if you do a key or two a week, the ROI isn't too bad on that. If you do roughly 3 keys a week, and you have a standard package from us, you can have the equipment basically paid off in roughly 4 to 6 months. Oh, that sounds aggressive.
It's aggressive, but now you won't start out that way. So unless you have a gaggle of business, if you already have fleet customers and you're doing 10, 15 keys, or your used car lot and you're doing 10 to 15 keys a week, well, the numbers are pretty simple. But if you're doing 3 keys a week and you're averaging $100 per key, that's $300 a week, which essentially is $1,200 a month in profit.
So, Carm, if I can interject here, as a shop owner, a lot of times you'll get a customer that doesn't buy a new car, they buy a used car, and on a lot of occasions that used car may only come with 1 key. So to kind of reinforce what Jeff's talking about with return on investment and doing 3 or 4 keys at a time in a week's time frame, you know, that's something that's easily attainable, because I can't tell you how many times a customer, like, you know, I've only got this 1 key, so make sure you leave my car unlocked for me if he's picking it up after hours or whatever. So there's a prime example where you could say, well, hey, would you like another key for your car?
Well, the amazing thing about being in the key business and everybody knowing it is that everybody that needs a key, boy, they're your friend real fast. they all come to, hey, can I get a free key? Can I? Hey, how about demoing that key programmer on my car? No, but the point I'm making is roughly 1 in 20 cars out there on the road today are going to need a new key, so or need another key. So if you do the numbers on that, that's at the retail level. That's about a $1.48 billion business for the shop owner. Overall. So there's a lot of keys to do out there.
Carm, I'd like to loop back on a couple of things and have Ryan and Jeff talk about them, because when you're talking about duplication of keys, you don't have to have a NASTF credential to do that. But I also think it would be good for Ryan to explain the difference between duplicating and then what has to happen if you're going to replace a module, for example, where you've got to have 2 technically different keys. They have different codes within them. You know, Ryan, maybe you should talk about that so that they understand the difference between the 2.
Yeah, so of course, when you're duplicating the key, all you're simply doing is cutting the key to be able to program the key into the vehicle. Like you were saying, with in some particular vehicles, you have to have 2 keys to be able to complete the programming loop. A good example would be like a Forro vehicle. If you were going to replace a module in that, in order to complete the programming loop on a Forro vehicle, you have to have 2 keys that's going to be programmed back into it. If you just have 1 key, you can't complete that programming loop. you have to have two in order to be able to ultimately program those keys back into that particular vehicle.
Well, let me expand on that. But if you're just doing duplicating but you are doing programming, NASTF is still going to be essential. If you're duplicating and just programming, not just for the key codes, but also the security codes that may be required to complete the program of that particular fob to that car. So NASTF is an essential part of that, not just key codes, but also those security codes as well.
And there are certain applications too. Some of the newer Toyotas actually require NASTF to be able to program those. With our tool in particular, you have to actually be online and have a NASTF credentials to be able to program those newer Toyota vehicles. So they're definitely essential.
Donny, do you see indies getting involved in keys? I mean, you would be kind of a gatekeeper there, right?
Well, obviously, I've been repairing cars since I was 12 and was in a business up until, early this year. I was involved in our family business for over 35 years. So, my dad cut keys back in the day when, you had the little machine, the little ILCO machine that, popped the edges off of the blank and all that.
Sure.
But to me, it just seems like if you can figure out a way to get into it without having I've got a great little locksmith we call, but they can't do the high tech stuff. Where a repair shop's already got all that skill set, we're already diagnosing things and we're already doing all of the programming and things. So really for us, it's adding stuff that is, fish in water kind of stuff. It's like you look at their machine, you're like, I can figure this out. So Donny, you said something so important that locksmiths aren't getting it done or not getting it done, but they a lot of them aren't at that high tech level. And I think that's a revelation. Yeah, we have in the registry, we have 5,500 locksmiths and repairers. Right? It's almost a dead split between how many are locksmiths and how many are repairers. And a lot of locksmiths, there's going to be some watching this that are not going to like what I'm saying, but they know if they really look at the whole community, a lot of locksmiths have gone away from automotive. They've either specialized in it or just gotten away from it because they're very, very different disciplines, and the things happening even in home is so radically different now. We've got electric stuff going on there and computer-based and Bluetooth. So there's a lot more specialization happening in the locksmithing world. So you call a locksmith and they're like, I can cut the key for you, but I can't program it.
Right. They actually would have to go on site, or you have to bring the car.
Yeah. Which is hard when it's got a, brand new computer and it won't run.
Exactly right. Which is actually more reason why we're having this show and we're having this incredible discussion, and there's a pathway to a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That sounds pretty exciting, huh, guys?
Let me interject and just on something that Donny said is there are two types of locksmiths out there, or all-in-ones. There's the kind that merely will do many of the doors and things like that out there, and then there's some that do both automotive and doors, and then there's some that just do automotive. But there are, to speak of the profession, there are some very highly skilled locksmiths out there that really are good at the automotive. And like any profession, there's some that just don't gravitate towards it, But a lot of good professionals out there to speak of, though.
Yeah, and to Jeff's point, a lot of the automotive specialists that are really good at all that programming stuff, they're starting to bridge over into teaching the auto repair guys. So, they're so good with the tools that they use, and that they're actually teaching the independents how to do this same kind of work. So it's definitely the bridge between the two is getting pretty much solid, and the definitions of them are getting very blurry as to who's who.
Little gray. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. We noticed that when we attended Apex, just the number of people that came by our booth, and you had some automotive shops that are locksmiths, and then you have some locksmiths that come by that are starting to do some simple diagnostics on cars, merely because they serve fleets and they want to develop their skills more. So to Donnie's point, it's becoming great. There's a mix and blend of people out there that may not just be one or the other.
Hey, look at everyone. I think we've done really well with this topic. I think we have solutions and answers for the industry. Donnie, I'd love to do a little commercial for NASTF. Let's get involved. I don't think it's that expensive to join, is it?
Well, to be a VSP is $400 a vehicle security professional.
But just to become a NASTF member.
100% free.
Yeah.
You come to our website, which a new one is launching November of 2020, which we're in, but I don't know when people are going to see this. So it is a complete shift in how NASTF does business and how we'll be able to provide information to our members. We've got 19,000 members in the US and Canada right now, and we expect that number to go through the roof once we start the new site, because you actually have to log in, because we customize everything that you see to what you want. If you only work on certain brands, why would you want to see the brands you don't work on? You can customize all of your views. And so that's going to mean a lot more people that were using it open source before will now log in and create a custom profile for themselves. So NASTF, beyond this piece that we're talking about, our mission is to identify and resolve gaps in service information, tooling information, and training. So we have a lot more facets than just the key program. It's just that's what you hear so much about.
Great site, a lot of information, you know, the connection to the OEs. And got to remember doing an interview with you with Peter Rudloff a few years ago, and we talked about some of the great efforts you guys were doing there. Hey, listen, as we bring this to an end, let's just go around the room. Anything that we maybe forgot to mention or a great message you'd love to give to our audience, Ryan?
As far as when Jeff actually brought up Apex, I wanted to mention a particular customer we had, and I'm sure you recall him down in Texas, Jeff. This customer had, no experience with programming keys. And he had an automotive shop, where he had a lot of used vehicles that he had to program keys for. And he picked up our tools, and immediately within, a couple weeks of getting our tools, he was able to start, programming keys to vehicles, cutting keys to vehicles, and be able to provide a solution that he had a need for, because beforehand he was paying, someone else to do that for him. But now he could do it himself. And like I said, it's not a huge learning curve. It is a learning curve, but not huge. And once you get a hang of it, it's going to be a very profitable business for you.
Thank you so much. John, how about you? Any final words?
Just a couple. I really think as a shop owner, two things make this whole transition a lot easier to get a return on investment. Number one is a lot of times a customer is going to have a problem with the expense of a key. So if we're talking a base level key you can make $60 profit on, well, that's going to be an expensive key compared to maybe cutting a house key that a customer's used to. But if you explain the whole security thing and keep it as simple as possible, I always tell my customers that, when you buy a new car, the first thing you do is you pair your phone with your car, and it has your address book, it has all your contacts, has all this stuff in it, plus a navigation system where you got programmed into your phone how to get to home and work. And when you go to get rid of that car, do you want to leave all that information available to the car? And if you explain it in a terminology like that, and then just kind of expand on it as to why the stuff costs what it costs and the importance of being able to do this stuff, customers are a lot more receptive to understanding the initial expense. And if you did nothing else except for just cut extra keys that will work in their car, Donnie brought up a great point of, as a person that does a lot of reprogramming, you do need, and on some cars, you do need 2 working keys. And if they don't have that, now the shop that's doing the actual reprogramming is kind of at a loss, where they're Yeah, I diagnosed the car successfully. I bought the computer. I put it in. I have the tooling to be able to do the programming. I'm signed up with the manufacturer's websites to download the software, but I can't do it because I don't have a key. So I don't have a second key, I should say. So there's a lot of potential for profits by being able to do this.
That was a great summary. I love it. See the P word. You used the P word there. Good, good, good. Jeff, how about you?
My message is, if you're considering doing this as an add-on to your business, don't be intimidated by it. Get in touch with some people, talk to some people about it, and see if they, talk to as many people about the process of it. Talk to us. We'll be happy to help you and do this the right way. If we don't think it's for you, then we'll suggest that maybe you need to continue using a security professional to handle your key business. But it's nothing to be afraid of. It's not as easy. It's not as hard as you think. And just reach out to people and talk to them about it.
How about the last word? Jeff, thank you so much. Jeff Brown, Automotive Sales Manager at ILCO. By the way, Ryan McGee, Automotive Product Specialist at ILCO. John Forro, AVI Master Technician. And Donny, I think I'll give you the last word.
Well, I will just leave with this. We get 400 new NASTF members a month on average. So we must be doing something right to get information out there. Automakers are wanting to bring more and more of this stuff to the independent aftermarket, but they're very scared of security. And so the first thing they do is they say, I've got this really cool idea. Do you guys think you could secure it for us? So this is why it's so important, I think, going forward, not just because I wear, it's backwards because it's backwards. Not because I wear this logo, but because I've repaired cars my whole life, to have this kind of a credential in your back pocket when you need it. And NASTF is going to be coming up with some newer things that will make it even easier for technicians to do this. So you need to get involved with this. It's free, and we'll keep pushing information to you so that you're on the cutting edge of what's going on out there.
NASTF Executive Officer Donny Seyfer, NASTF.org.
That's it.
I hope the website gets flooded with a whole bunch of neat new members in the next week or two. Hey, thank you all for being here. This was great. I think, first of all, I learned a ton. I love to learn something new each and every day, and I hope everyone in the industry did. Keep programming, 123.com. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Carm.
Thank you.
Thank you.